Myra Patel was, without question, the most promising graduate student in the comparative literature program. Her seminar essays read like published work, and her insights regularly silenced the room. She was sharp, without arrogance, curious, without recklessness. It was this balance that drew Professor Alden Rourke to her. Rourke was the kind of academic whose name carried weight. Tenured at 34, published monographs on everything from Gothic narratives to metafiction, and a strange charisma that unsettled as much as it attracted. He dressed in charcoal suits even on lecture days, his beard always carefully trimmed, and his lectures often felt like performances. He began mentoring Myra informally, inviting her to sit in on his upper-level classes, slipping obscure readings into her mailbox, and offering long office hours that always ran over time. She was flattered. She admired him. More than once she caught herself parroting his turns of phrase in class discussions. A week before the semester ended, Rourke invited her to his rural home in upstate New York. A retreat, he called it. A chance to immerse ourselves in the minds of the greats. Just 2 days. Read, think, walk. No Wi-Fi, no distractions. She hesitated, but not for long. His home was older than she expected, a rambling, weather-beaten colonial with creaky floorboards and thick glass windows that distorted the trees outside. Inside, it was lined with books, but in a disordered way that clashed with the precision she associated with Rourke. Stacks on the floor, books with cracked spines and yellowed pages, margins scrawled over in handwriting that didn't always look like his. The first night, they drank wine by the fire and talked about Borges and Calvino. Rourke was looser here, more effusive, more animated. He quoted things from memory and laughed at obscure jokes only a comparatist would understand. Myra felt lucky to be there. But things felt off. The next morning, she found the bathroom door latched from the inside. When she asked, Rourke insisted it must have been a draft. She wanted to believe him. Then there were the books, some filled with underlying passages that grew increasingly erratic. One had entire pages crossed out in thick red pen. In another, every instance of the word mirror was circled. And always, the margins held commentary. Not literary analysis, but personal asides. Angry ones, obsessive ones. She asked him about them over lunch. "Do you annotate all of your books like this?" He smiled. Marginalia is the real conversation, isn't it? Later that day, while he was napping in the sunroom, she returned to the library. She pulled one of the older tomes from a high shelf. It fell open to a penciled note in the margin that stopped her cold. She doesn't see it yet, but she will. She dropped the book. That night she couldn't sleep. The house groaned in the dark. At some point she heard the creak of footsteps outside her door, but when she opened it, no one was there. She noticed something else. Her overnight bag, which she had zipped closed, was now slightly open. Her toothbrush was wet. The next morning, Rourke suggested a walk in the woods. "There's a trail behind the house. Barely anyone knows about it. You'll love it." Myra declined, citing a headache, but as she stepped out, she watched from an upstairs window. He didn't take the trail. He stood still at the edge of the woods, looking back toward the house for a long time, watching her window. Then he disappeared into the trees. She packed fast, but when she reached the front door, it wouldn't open. Not jammed, locked. The same with the back door. Her phone had no signal, of course. She remembered Rourke's comment about no distractions, no Wi-Fi, no neighbors. Panic crept in, quiet and insistent. She returned to the library, frantically pulling more books. Several were notebooks, not even published texts. And they weren't literary notes. They were journals, Some typed, some handwritten, all obsessively detailed accounts of the students, their habits, the cadence of their speech, their clothing, their vulnerabilities. And she was in them. One entry, dated 3 months ago. Myra is precise, composed, but I've seen the fracture line. A few more nudges and she'll feel it. She'll know what it means to be truly observed. A floorboard creaked behind her. Rourke stood in the doorway, smiling faintly. "You found the good stuff." She didn't respond. He took a step forward, still smiling. "I thought maybe you'd understand. This is the real literature. The texts we write when we think no one else will read them. This is where the truth lives." Another step. She backed away. I want to leave." "I know." Silence stretched. Then he said, "There's a key in the greenhouse under the third planter from the left." She didn't trust him, but she went anyway and found it just as he had said. She didn't wait to wonder why. She drove home shaking, never went back. She never reported him either. But months later, when she had distanced herself enough to resume work on her thesis, she opened an old anthology Rourke had gifted her that semester. On the inside cover, in that same unmistakable scrawl, was a single line: "The best readers always come back."